Welcome back to Deadball TV. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a transfer recap for all of the recent transfers, including Asian players. Now, my grand plan is for this to be part 1 and for there to be a part 2. So if you want to see part 2 and if you want to see other videos covering Asian football, make sure you hit subscribe. Also, if y'all could smash the like button and let me know down in the comments what is the best Asian transfer so far from this window. We're going to go through a bunch of transfers here, and at the end of each one, I'm going to give y'all my hype meter, which basically is how excited am I, how hype did I get when I saw that this move happened. Without further ado, let's kick it off with what I would call the most shocking transfer involving an Asian player so far of this window, and that's Hiroki Ito going from Stuttgart to Bayern Munich for a reported $30 million. Hiroki Ito is 25 years old. He's a Japanese center back and left back, and he is the first signing of the company era at Bayern Munich, so this is a big freaking deal. I'm going to read you guys a quote from one of Bayern's board members about this move. This is from Max Eberl when talking about the move. Quote, "We want hungry players who bring a new energy, and Hiroki has everything we wish for. He is a player who takes on challenges, overcomes them, and keeps on pushing forward." The Bayern sporting director, Chris Frund, said, quote, "Hiroki Ito produced consistent performances at a top level, which attracted the attention of several big clubs. Hiroki is tall, aggressive, has a strong left foot, an excellent passing game, and versatile in defense, because he can play on both the left side as well as centrally." Now, if you sense a bit of concern and caution in my voice, that is because I've watched a lot of Hiroki Ito, and I've watched a lot of Hiroki Ito both at the club level and for Japan, and I'm just going to say right now, not to poo-poo on any Japanese fans watching, if he is going to Bayern Munich to play as left back, this is going to be a disaster. Hiroki Ito, while I do think as a center back he's much more serviceable, might be one of the worst crossers of the football in the European continent. So if Bayern Munich think that this guy could possibly, at the level that Bayern are expecting, play as a left back, I just think they're going to be really disappointed. And I think Ito's going to be well in over his head. Now, from the other quotes I could find, it does seem like he is being signed as a center back. They are not very happy with Eric Dyer getting a lot of minutes at the club. And so to that I say, thank God. And for Hiroki Ito, the player, to be at a club like Bayern Munich is nothing short of a massive dub. I mean, I'm not even sure if he believed that he would end up at the biggest German club if you asked him this at the beginning of last season. So it's super hype for Ito. It's super hype for Japan because you have a Japanese player at the highest profile German club. But for me, as a fan of Asian football, I'm very scared, folks. I hope that I'm wrong, but I just have a bad feeling about this one. For the hype meter, I'm going to go B+, because the prospect of Bayern Munich having a Japanese and Korean center back playing and starting in the same game is almost too much for my mind to bear. If I had more confidence in the move, I would definitely be going A+, but I don't. The next transfer is one that I have been asked about more than any transfer possibly in the history of Deadball TV, and that is Ali Jasim going to Como in Serie A. Now, this move is a bit of a strange one because Fabrizio Romano reported on June 18th that the deal was done, and the only thing remaining was to work out the contract. However, since June 18th, and we're now coming up in about 3 weeks now, I have not seen a single update regarding the move. There was also some info that Jasim's Asian club didn't want to let him go, and then there was another report after that that said that the club had worked it out and that Jasim was going to make his way to Italy. So I have no idea what's going on. I'm just going to pretend like this move is finalized for the sake of my sanity. Como finished second in Serie B last season, only behind Palermo. They are a newly promoted side, and they've been coming out of the gate swinging in the transfer market. They've already made some big moves like Belotti, and I think adding Jasim, undoubtedly one of Asia's top young talents, that's another statement. That's a statement of intent that they're not trying to go back down in Serie B next season. So in terms of league, in terms of profile for Jasim, I think this is incredible. I think he's a guy that definitely more people should know who he is. My one concern with this move is that I think the competition at the left wing position, and I know Jasim can play right as well, but the competition at the left wing position is a little fierce. Lucas Acuna is a young Frenchman who was the starting left wing for Como last season. He had 7 goals, 6 assists in 36 games, so that's not exactly a bad return. I don't know what the long-term play would be here. Do they sell Acuna and then just go all in on Jasim? Do they let the two battle it out in training camp to see who becomes a starter for the 2024 season? I'm not sure. For my hype meter, I'm going to go A on this one because having an Iraqi in Serie A next season, possibly starting, is absolute beast mode. And Jasim, if he plays his cards right, if he gets the opportunities, and a lot of Asian players don't get the opportunities, unfortunately, after making these moves, we could be looking at like a Medhi Taremi style career in Europe. Again, if he plays his cards right. I'm talking best case scenario. And speaking of Medhi Taremi, that is the next player we're going to talk about, who completed his free transfer from Porto to Inter Milan, and thereby concludes what feels like the longest transfer saga in the history of Asian football. I swear this guy has been linked to other clubs every single window since he signed for Porto 4 years ago. And honestly, I'm sick of it. I'm just glad I never have to talk about this ever again. The greatest irony in this transfer is that nobody ended up paying a fee for it, and the move comes after, no doubt, Taremi's most disappointing season with Porto. He was injured a lot and missed games due to the Asian Cup, but a return of 6 goals, 4 assists in 23 games is certainly not what he was looking for, and it's not even meeting the standard that he himself has set. But I think this season's performance can be excused for the reasons that I already mentioned, and getting a move to Inter Milan, at least on paper, is amazing. Now here's where I get a little concerned. Taremi is still the best striker in Asian football, and he deserves to be at a club of Inter Milan's stature, and I think Asia getting another representative at a club like this, that, let's be honest, Inter Serie A, they just get way more eyeballs than the Portuguese league, that's a dub. Now my concern here is that when I'm looking at the center forwards on Inter, I mean, this list is insane. I mean, we're going up against Marcus Thuram. We're going up against Lautaro Martinez. Joaquin Correa might even decide to run it back. And Inter also signed Arnautovic for an $8 million fee. That's a lot of center forwards on one team. And I know that Taremi's good, and I back him to at least be a rotation guy there. But there's absolutely no guarantee he's a starter. In fact, I would be shocked if he is a starter, and I don't think he will be a starter. I think he's been being brought in, based on what I've seen from Inzaghi as well, to be a rotation guy here. And do you want your star player who's 31 years old to be a rotation guy? Probably not. While Taremi might be a baller, the fact that he's coming in on a free means there's also no financial pressure to play him, right? We see this with Chelsea. Like, they got to play Mudryk sometimes. You paid 80 mil for him. Manchester United, you paid 100 mil for Anthony. You got to play him sometimes. But if you got a guy on a free, there's no pressure. There's no pressure from management. They're like, hey, you wanted this guy. We paid up big for him. You got to play him. That's not going to exist with Taremi here, and I think that's a problem. So for those reasons, I'm going to go B on the hype meter. I think the club is great. I think the league is great. I think it's a step up. Of course, all on paper and in theory for Taremi. I'm just worried about the play time. The next transfer is for our Central Asian fans on Deadball TV. Rustam Yatimov to Russian club Rostov for $250K. For those of you who don't know, Yatimov is the starting goalkeeper for Tajikistan. He's almost got 50 caps already for the national team, only at 25 years old, which is very impressive. He was previously at Istiklal, which every single Tajik plays for Istiklal. I mean, that's basically the national team. Now, the previous 2 goalkeepers at Rostov left, and they brought in Yatimov and another Bosnian goalkeeper. The reason that I like this move a lot for Yatimov is because they paid for him. The other guy came in on a free. So, because they were willing to pay money for this guy, again, you have to believe that they kind of back him a little bit more, at least in the preseason depth chart. Now, it's up to Yatimov to tie it down. I think he's a very, very good goalkeeper, and I'm going to back that guy to do so. And for that, on the hype meter, I'm going B+. I can't go A because of the club and the fact that, like, Russian football is kind of just ostracized right now. But I think certainly getting out of the Tajik League and getting into the Russian Premier League, that's a big deal. It's very, very difficult for some of these Central Asian guys to have movement like this. I believe it probably helps that Yatimov, I think, was a dual nat between Russia and Tajikistan. I don't know if they're considered as foreign players. It doesn't matter. I'm going B+ on the hype meter. Now, this next transfer is insane because of who the player is and because of how much money was paid for him. And I'm talking about Ahmed Al-Gandhi, who just signed from Al-Ettifaq to Al-Ittihad for $7.3 million. Now, some of y'all watching might be like, hey, Jack, I mean, we don't have any context, 7.3. Maybe he's like the best Saudi prospect right now. I mean, maybe he's the Saudi Arabian Ali Jasim. Well, let me tell you, he's not. I was looking at the stats for this guy, and I was honestly shocked. He played 20 minutes for Saudi Arabia at the Gulf Cup. He's 22 years old with 3 goal involvements in 21 league games in the Saudi Arabian League for $7.3 million. According to Transfermarkt, his market value is $600,000. So we're talking about Al-Ittihad overpaying by 12x to get this guy in. The more I look at this transfer, the more confused I get. So if you have any Saudi pro diehards watching this video for some reason, please let me know in the comments what the heck is going on here, because my man looks, with all due respect, like a complete scrub, and the fact that he's going for almost $8 million is just stunning to me. Like, I know Saudi and the league over there just kind of wipes their butt with money, but like, this is a disgusting display of wealth and a disgusting display of intent if they're paying this much money for an intra-Saudi transfer. I mean, Liga MX can't even compete with these numbers. It's absolutely ridiculous. Hype meter, I'm going D. Transfer money, I'm going D. This is just absolutely insane to me, but I wanted to bring it up because of how much of an outlier I felt like it was. Next transfer is Keanu Bacchus from St. Mirren in Scotland to Mansfield Town in League One. If you guys have been subscribed to Deadball TV, you know I love Keanu Bacchus. He's a very tenacious midfielder for the Australian national team. I don't really know why because I don't watch the Scottish League, but his minutes really went down for St. Mirren as the season went on. I think he's a very good player, and to end up at a newly promoted League One side, for me at least, was pretty shocking. I guess it's an upgrade a little bit. I mean, is St. Mirren to a newly promoted League One team, is that a step up? I don't even know if that's a step up. I think it's a step up in the sense that you have the possibility for promotion to the championship, and I think the championship is where Bacchus belongs. I really think that's his level, and so, you know, maybe we'll check back in on this video in 2 years, and if, you know, Mansfield Town make it up, then we go, okay, that was an A move. But if they don't get promoted, for me, man, on the hype meter, I'm going C-. Like, he's already 26. So the possibility of a major move after this one is very low. He only signed on a 2-year deal as well. So if they're not promoted in 2 years, he's basically a free agent, and then at that point, I don't know what happens. Like, unless he balls out as an individual and gets picked up on a free by a championship team, which is possible. I just think the career has plateaued. And again, for a guy that I rate, I thought this was a little disappointing to see. So yeah, hype meter, C- for my boy Bacchus. We're going to keep it to Australia for this next transfer. Nestory Irrankunda from Adelaide United to Bayern Munich for $3.4 million. I don't know about y'all, but I'm pretty sure Bayern Munich watches Deadball TV the way they're buying all these Asian players. For those of you who don't know, and I certainly didn't know until I did my research, Irrankunda is basically the highest rated Australian prospect. The kid just turned 18, and last season in the A-League for Adelaide, he had 8 goals and 6 assists in 25 games, and keep in mind, he was pretty much 17 for the entire season. I'm not saying this is the Australian Lamine Yamal, but it might be the Australian Lamine Yamal. Or maybe he's the Australian Endrick. Maybe that's a better comparison. Who cares? The point is, the ceiling is ridiculously high. He also made his debut for the Australian senior national team in the last round of World Cup qualifying when Australia pretty much had it wrapped up, and he got a goal and an assist. The goal was a penalty, but who cares? I mean, this kid is winning right now. Life is looking great. Now, from what I could tell from Bayern's website, he's going to be part of the Bayern preseason squad. He's already training with the first team, and then based on how he looks in training, based on how he plays in the preseason, he might remain with the Bayern senior team for the Bundesliga season, or they might send him down to the U23s. Either way, who cares? This move is insane. I think it's phenomenal for Australia to basically get their golden child already to Bayern Munich. I mean, there was no going to Scotland and playing with the rest of the Australian national team. Like, he skipped that. He skipped Denmark, Netherlands, all these developmental leagues. He went straight to the big boys in Germany. And for that reason, hype meter, I'm going A+. I think this is a cracker of a transfer. The next transfer isn't so crazy. Takuma Asano to Mallorca from Bochum on a free. Asano was at Bochum for 3 years, and I'm not really sure if any of their fans would say he was a massive success. I mean, they'd probably say that he was okay because Asano is okay. He's one of those Asian players who I feel like is overrated. I don't feel like there are many that are overrated because many of them the casual fan has never seen before, but because of what he's done at the Asian Cup, or excuse me, at the World Cup, a lot of people know this guy, and I don't know. I've always felt he was kind of average. I think him going to Mallorca actually is great for Asano. I think that's probably one of the best clubs that he could move to. Like, there's no way, based on what he's done for Bochum, that you could rationalize an upgrade at the club level. Like, if he would have gone to, like, a Marseille or something, or if, God forbid, Leverkusen bought him or he signed him on a free, I'd be like, yo, he's out of his depth. He's out of his depth, and I'm not even sure he deserved this. So to go to Mallorca, a club that is starving for goals, to sign a player like Asano, who sometimes gives you goals, I think it's a decent move, man. I mean, I'm looking at it now. They were 16th in La Liga in goals scored, and Asano, I mean, a great season would be getting another 6 goals. Like, I don't see him breaking the 6-goal ceiling in La Liga. I really don't. But I guess we'll see. Hype meter on this one, I'm going to go B-. Next up, we have Korean fullback Youngwoo Sol from Ulsan to Red Star Belgrade in the Serbian League. I think this is a pretty good move overall for Youngwoo. He's going to be joining Hwangenbom, so there's going to be a little bit of that Korean connection over there in Serbia. He was in the K-League team of the season last year. He had 1 goal, 5 assists in 27 games. Ulsan won the K-League as well. So I feel like it's natural that he's probably, you know, after conquering Korean football, going to move to Europe. And I think if you look at the transfer business of Red Star, they do sell a lot of their players. So that's a good thing as well, is that he's not going to get stuck if he does what he needs to do. Now, the downside is that Youngwoo is already 25, right? So that's a little old. So at most, he probably needs to move to a bigger club by 27. You know, it's not like Kim Min-jae. Kim Min-jae, great example. He wasn't super young when he went to Turkey. And he wasn't super young when he was in Napoli. And he's not super young now that he's at Bayern Munich. So it is possible. But he was also in the Serie A team of the season. So if Young Woo can get in the Serbian League team of the season, or if they qualify for the UCL and they're in the playoffs, if he gets into the UCL and he balls out in those games, yeah, we could be looking at a move at 26 years old, 27 years old, which would be great. If that doesn't happen, this might be the peak of his career. And for that, I'm going to give the move a B- as well. Maybe even a B. Maybe I'm hating a little bit, but I think there's no shame in staying in the Serbian league, but it doesn't have quite the same excitement as, some of the, the Australian transfer that I just talked about, Irrankunda. The last transfer I'm going to talk about in this video is Seiya Makuma, the Japanese right back, who was signed for an undisclosed fee to AZ Alkmaar in the Netherlands. Makuma is 8 caps for the Japanese national team, featured a couple times at the recent Asian Cup, and he's pretty much the foil to Sugawara, who ironically is also Japanese and is also a right back, and also plays for AZ Alkmaar, although there are a lot of rumors that he might be leaving. So in part 2 of this series, we might be talking about Sugawara, maybe the Inter Milan. I don't know. You're just going to have to hit subscribe to find out. But actually, though, that is exactly what I think is going on here. I think Alkmaar is bringing in Makuma so that they can sell Sugawara. And this is going to be really interesting to see how it plays out, right? Because Makuma and Sugawara are opposites. Sugawara is one of the best attacking fullbacks in the Netherlands. He loves to get forward. His passing stats are great. He creates a lot of chances. He'll shoot. But defensively, he's kind of a liability because of how aggressive he is when his team has the ball. And then you have Makuma, who is literally the exact opposite of that. And if you look at his defensive stats, he's better than Sugawara. So bringing him in to be a like-for-like replacement for Sugawara is going to fail because he doesn't have the skill set. But if you kind of want more of a bulldog, a guy who's going to, win more challenges for you and just pass the ball off to the midfield, I think Maikuma's going to be a glowing success here. Similar to Young Woo with Red Star, Maikuma's age being 26 is a bit of a concern, but not a massive one, and I think the Dutch league is pretty good. I mean, it's the 6th or 5th best league in Europe, so let's say he never gets another move. Let's say this is it. This is the zenith of his career. If he can stay at Alkmaar for 6 years, to at least 32, and then eventually return to the J League, there's no shame in that at all. That's a very successful career. That's a very high level. That's going to be hard for Hajime Moriyasu or hopefully a new manager to ignore him when calling up players for the Samurai Blue. Jack's hype meter on Maikuma to Alkmaar, I'm going to go A-. I actually really, really like this move. And I think that's going to be it for today, guys. Those are all the transfers we're going to talk about. But like I said, we will be back for a part 2 and maybe even a part 3. It really depends how many crazy or insanely massive transfer moves there are that involve Asian players. But I have a feeling we have at least one more crazy one left this window. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you smash the like button. Let me know down below in the comments. Again, what was your move of the window so far? If you agree with any of my comments, if you disagree, let me know why down below. Hit subscribe if you like videos covering Asian football, and I'll see you guys in the next one.